So, will the USA make Canada the 51st state? That's the subject of today's video, and this topic actually came up recently. Check out the headline. Trump suggests Canada become 51st state after Trudeau said tariff would kill economy. And the way they describe this is at Fox News. They said Trudeau told Trump he cannot levy the tariff because it would kill the Canadian economy completely. Trump replied asking, so your country can't survive unless it's ripping off the US to the tune of 100 billion. Trump then suggested to Trudeau that Canada become the 51st state, which caused the prime minister and others to laugh nervously. And that's coming from Fox News. And the image that came to my head, it's kind of like the person who's got their finger on the button, right? You know the button I'm talking about. And you're not sure if you should laugh at their jokes or not. And you're like, well, he does got the button, so you better laugh. And later, you got this headline here. Trump's quip about Canada becoming 51st state was a joke, says minister who was there. And I saw an interview, and the guy's like, oh, it was a joke. We have drinks and stuff like that, and we do get some business, but Trump is an entertaining guy, that kind of stuff. Like, what? And someone actually commented, one of Trudeau's assistants regarding the Canada 51st state thing. This is from Gerald Butts, and he says, quote, Trump used this 51st state line all the time with Trudeau in his first term, and it's a dig to rattle, quote, Canadian cages. And Butts also recommends when someone wants you to freak out, don't. The problem is, again, guys, and this kind of gives you an inside look of how Trump behaves around people. I'm sure he jokes all the time. And again, you're not really sure, is this guy serious or not serious? But he does have the finger on the button. He made a joke recently, if you don't know, that he can't get rid of Musk because Musk is evidently too much hanging out in Florida. That's why he's calling it the Mars-Largo base. And this, someone from our community, and because guys, you got to make jokes this time. It's a way to deal with the stress. Agnes said, what's going on / how are we getting screwed is the perfect name for a recurring U.S. news segment. And I do kind of feel like that. And so in order to cheer Americans up, because I'm American too, we're going to do what Americans do best, which is make fun of Canada. So yes, we are changing the segment. Instead of like, how is Trump screwing the USA? We're going to talk about how things are bad in Canada to make us feel better. So sorry, Canadians, we got to talk about you. Actually, this is real headlines. Jobless rate reaches 6.8% in November, highest since 2017, excluding pandemic. So guys, I'm actually kind of concerned about this because I know that a lot of Americans are like, you know what, I got to leave the country and I just don't want to be under Trump. And Canada's looking pretty good right now. I mean, the grass is definitely looking greener up there. And then this headline comes out from Canada, and you're like completely ruining everyone's plans. What is going on, Canada? Jobless rate 6.8%, pretty high. Also says here that I guess the amount of unemployed Canadians who haven't worked for like a year is really high. I'll read it. It says, for unemployed Canadians, that meant longer periods without work. The job report says 46.3% of unemployed Canadians in November had not worked in the last year or had never worked. What the heck? And that's higher than last year, which was at 39.5%. So basically, people are unemployed and have been working for a very, very long time. It seems the grass is indeed not greener in Canada. I'm not sure if we should take it as the 51st state if that's the case. However, maybe we are going to come and just take all of your jobs. Who knows? But yes, unemployment is ticking up there. I would love to hear from people in Canada. I'm just curious your guys' thoughts on the situation. We also have this. I guess Canadians are thinking about lowering the interest rate to try to spur growth. It says following Friday's jobs data released by Statistics Canada, markets increased their bets for a 50 basis point cut to central bank policy, which currently sits at 3.75%. There was a number that I thought was very important, though, when we talk about jobs added to Canada. It says the economy added 51,000 jobs, with 45,000 of the new jobs coming from the public sector. So it sounds like the private sector is not adding it. Again, it's like public sector, so government jobs are where the new jobs are. So that's very interesting, different than USA, which we're going to talk about the USA data. Before I got into USA data, I just wanted to make fun of Canada because, again, that's what all Americans do. So that's a joke, guys. You know this. And true story, I grew up in Portland, and if we were to take over Canada, actually, I would not suggest that. I think in the best case scenario for those on the West Coast, If California, Oregon, and Washington, say, joined with British Columbia, became like western part of the North America, that would actually be a pretty big kick in, and kicking in a good way, country. So would that ever happen? Who knows? We always joke about that stuff in sci-fi movies where, like, USA gets splintered into 5 parts and absorbs part of Canada and Mexico, etc. But I would think if you do want to kind of go for British Columbia, that's my suggestion to President Trump if you are going to do such a thing. It's a joke, guys. But this is, I know, am I joking? I don't know. This is the news from the jobs in USA. U.S. economy added 227,000 jobs in November, so that's more than last month. But we had a big problem with the hurricane and such, to where a lot of people weren't working. I actually don't know. I've been following that story, and you guys can let me know in North Carolina, Florida, how the reconstruction is going, and people getting back to their homes. I haven't seen much news on that. I will say with any of these kind of numbers regarding U.S. employment and unemployment, the numbers sometimes they revise them, and also too, it's hard to say exactly how accurate this stuff is. There's many factors involved. So first, I'll just tell you the number. So we know unemployment 6.9% in Canada. It's officially 4.2% in USA. It's been going up since last year. You can see it's down a little bit now, but the reason why I say we're not quite sure on the numbers is unemployment can count, or I can say people who have jobs can count part-time jobs, which may not pay enough. You could work like 1 hour in like, a week or whatever, you're employed, but you're not really getting paid that much. It could be a lot of jobs there that just, maybe you are employed 40 hours, but the pay level is not high enough. And then those people like completely just give up on the workforce, and we just don't count you at all. So always be aware of these kind of numbers. And again, this is something that really is very personal. So, if you're doing fine, but your neighbor is unemployed, struggling, that's a recession. If you then lose your job, that's a depression, right? So it just depends what industry you're in and how your current situation is for you. This was an interesting number here, was where are the jobs coming into, right? Where's the job growth and where are we losing jobs? It's been the same for a while. Healthcare, social assistance is the big one. So essentially, nurse, this kind of stuff, and taking care of elderly, there's always going to be opportunity in that. And that's going to be for a long time, I think. Then you have leisure and hospitality jobs, and then government jobs are being added. One concern, though, regarding the U.S. economy, losing retail jobs. So that was down like 28,000. In comparison, the healthcare jobs was a plus gain of like 72,000. So the retail jobs, one explanation could be that a lot of the jobs have moved to online. So, you can close stores, you lose jobs there, and then you move online, and maybe are less jobs for the online shopping kind of stuff. Regarding markets, we seem pretty frothy. And why you talk about markets and unemployment data and stuff like that? Because remember, in these modern economies, it's all based on people shopping. And if you believe, and I believe at least, but I know the market doesn't always work that way, but if you believe, you buy stocks in company based on, how much companies make and how their, future prospects are looking, you want to make sure that they have customers to buy said products. So at the moment, it just feels like we have a real disconnect for how the market is performing and what, the valuations and fundamentals behind said companies. There's an interesting headline, and I'll read through the stuff. This is Bill Gross is on the alert as momentum mania sweeps Wall Street, and I keep seeing these kind of headlines like we're in meme mania time again. So it feels very toppy to me. And then Trump takes office in January. So that's kind of how I'm feeling. I'll be curious if you guys agree or disagree. And I'll just read some description. It says, Bitcoin rallying to the moon, meme stocks surging for no good reason, and bearish bets cradling all at once, right? All these things converging together. You also have this kind of headline here. Trump claims credit for Bitcoin hitting 100,000 as pro-crypto administration takes shape with SEC pick, right? All the people he's picking is all about loosening regulations. And again, you have all this stuff soaring to the moon, and Trump's, sort of creating this sort of hypey atmosphere. You have this coming from Richard Bernstein Advisors. Quote, they say Bitcoin, yep, it's a bubble on steroids. And they also say there's nothing fundamental going on. It's all about liquidity. And the joke that you can always make about this stuff is that there are a lot of people out there with too much money and too few brains. You have this also. This is Bill Gross's details of what he thinks about the current market. He says, Will Rogers is famous for saying, quote, don't gamble, take all your savings and buy some good stock and hold it till it goes up, okay? Then sell it. Easy enough. He says here, if it don't go up, don't buy it. It's kind of a funny, that's so obvious, right? But don't gamble though, Will Rogers. He also says here, this is on Twitter. He also says here, while this may seem nonsensical, it was really a 1930s endorsement of, quote, momentum investing, a phenomenon that increasingly is in vogue, Bitcoin being a prime example. I am heeding this herd wave, but am wary of circumstances that may slow or end this party. For now, I'm buying dividend-rich stocks with pipeline MLP, a good example at 7 to 8% yield, such as ET and WES. He's got to pump his portfolio. Of course he does. Banks are stable investments when momentum shifts. So I just want to give you another person's point of view, and he's all about oil and gas. Other things that are going on too, which I thought were kind of interesting. People are short the market. They were saying here that, here's the average loss. It says along the way, last remaining short traders are taking hits among 126 ETFs. Someone asked me before, how can I short if you really want to, but don't go short. You can actually buy ETFs that are short for you. It's a little bit safer way to do it. But it says here, only 14 are up this year. So most of the short bets right now this year are losing, and the average loss is 27%. I've said this before several times on the channel. Sure, you can totally short if you want, meaning bet against the market. Just be careful out there because generally speaking, long, going, hoping that stocks go up is usually your better bet. But in this crazy market that we're currently in with mania and stuff like that, I completely understand why people are going short. One of the problems though is that there's so much liquidity out there. I think there's heavy bets on both sides. And after Trump gets office, my opinion, I think you're going to have like crazy moves. And we've been seeing this, and I mean either direction. And we've been seeing this in the markets for a while now, where it's like, whatever stock is up 10% one day, down 10% the next day, and like it's like that every day. It's kind of nuts. And then our best performing assets are cryptocurrency, so that kind of tells you what our markets are feeling and saying. Someone else says here, this is someone at State Street. They say it's hard to be bearish on risk right now. Liquidity remains abundant. The Fed has started its cutting cycle, all while economic data continue to generally surprise on the upside. But everyone's gonna have a different thing that they say and things that they're promoting. But like I said, you hear it from a couple different people. Like there's just too much money out there. So will that change? I mean, the Fed's gonna cut rates again, and I don't know how long this party can keep going. I mean, that's my opinion of stuff. There was a thing that was done by the conference board, and they're asking people like, what do you think stocks are going to do? And it was like 56% of the people think stocks are going to go up next year. So meaning that people are more confident that stocks are going to go up. So, that usually indicates bubble. This also says here, it's kind of interesting just to listen. Bubble or not, the crypto frenzy dovetails with a now all-encompassing risk rally, right? We're all into crypto, I guess. Unprofitable tech companies are up 20% so far, right? So crypto's up, unprofitable, meaning companies that don't make money. Unprofitable tech companies are up. And it also says, and junk bonds are also up. So basically people are pouring money into more riskier assets, and they're all going up. All the risky stuff's going up. This also says here, the number of millionaire 401k accounts at Fidelity hit a record high of 544,000. So you have everything's going up. People are feeling confident. Everyone's buying crypto, and Trump's going to hit office in January, right? So I'll be curious if this ends up being a sell the news event or we keep rallying to the moon forever. We'll see. You guys already know my opinion on this stuff. And if you're curious, I'll just be really clear. So generally speaking, if you want to play the markets, index fund is your safest way. Then you're not like betting on, is it going to be this industry or that industry? If you want to do particular industries, then you can get ETFs in whatever industry. So these days there's an ETF for everything. ETF for AI, ETF for oil and gas, ETF for retail, ETF for, even cars, whatever you want to do, you can totally do that. If you want to do individual stocks, you're perfectly welcome to do that. Just understand what valuations mean, like just a general gist of it is like, okay, what's the P ratio? Is this overvalued, undervalued? These kind of things. Be realistic about the news that you read. I try to give you realistic things on this stuff. Pay off your debts, which is always a good advice. Make sure you secure your job, because I think that's going to be the big thing going forward. Just overall, when I look around the market, I feel like there's so many things, or everything really overvalued, be it housing, stocks, etc. And it's hard to talk about the news every day because Trump is so volatile. He's going to be president, and it's even going to get more crazy going into next year. And again, the crypto is your best performing thing. And what am I supposed to say? Like, I tell you the truth. Yes, Bitcoin is going to the moon, but it's not based on any particular fundamentals. It's based on I'm buying it because I think someone else will buy it from me. I can find a bigger fool. That's the idea. So that's what's going on in the markets. I'd love to hear your thoughts. I gave you all the info out there, and I'll catch you in the next video.